We are so locked into Tales from the Crypt around here that it ain't even funny. Like, you think this bro's my idol, dude? You're my op. Yeah, I keep my enemies close. One thing about Tales from the Crypt, even though it is very eerie, bloody, and disturbing, it is very funny. It has a lot of humor to it. The contrast of comedy with the horror is what makes it so 90s, so unique, so nostalgic. Today, on this episode, I'm going to be talking about a more humorous episode with a disturbing twist ending. 2 comedy legends in it. That's right. So come kick it while we talk about the Ventriloquist's Dummies. What up, y'all? Welcome back to Phantom of the Indie Review. I am your host, Dummy Dill. Dummy Dill. We are on the journey of 4,000 subscribers by my 31st birthday. I'm not usually this obnoxious, I promise. I feel like nostalgia is one of the most important things for anyone, and it is universal, and we can all relate to it. And my biggest thing is I like to take movies that we all know and love and talk about a certain aspect or idea or thought that isn't fully out there. A lot of people that are reviewing new movies nowadays just say the same thing, but nostalgic movies you can feel in your heart. You know what I'm saying? If any of that sounds interesting to you, if you want to see a psychological terror about a dummy, come hang out with me and give me a subby. Ooh, I didn't even mean to rhyme that, dude. I should drop a mixtape. Not only does this Tales from the Crypt episode merge 2 iconic comedians head-to-head in a battle of the wits, but it does focus on one reoccurring theme that we often see in cinema, TV, pop culture, and that is dolls. And not just dolls, dummies. But how did this come to be? Why did dummies evoke so much fear into people? I do get the innate idea of people that are terrified by, dolls, toys, those old collectible like Russian nesting dolls, or those old, creepy dolls that grandparents have. I can see the idea of being a young kid being freaked out by that. So it only made sense that ventriloquism came into play, because not only is it a toy, it's a toy that someone else can manipulate and use. So that creates its own psychological torment within itself. For example, like a toy that a kid would play with, that sparks the imagination of a young kid. Or sometimes when you're walking through the hallway and you see a toy just sitting in the hallway, or make a weird noise if it's electronic, something about you is like, dude, something is controlling that. But then there's that aspect with a ventriloquist dummy where it's like, maybe it can control you, and I feel like that is such a more deep and darker and adult fear that kind of like takes that initial childhood fear and transforms it into something more insane. We see those ventriloquist acts where they're all happy-go-lucky and they're kind of fighting back and forth with their little toy, but what if that toy really is in control? The first example in horror that I could find for having a ventriloquist doll with evil intentions is The Great Gabbo, which is a 1929 American pre-code early sound musical drama film. And the plot essentially follows: brilliant ventriloquist Gabbo increasingly uses his dummy Otto as his only means of self-expression, an artist driven insane by his work. Gabbo's gimmick is his astonishing ability to make Otto talk and even sing, while Gabbo himself smokes, drinks, and eats. And though this movie is more of a drama, not so much it is a thriller or horror, this kind of introduced the idea of, again, dummies being a critical psychological source for storytelling. Again, we see Gabbo in this film kind of goes insane by his own work, and his only friend is a puppet, kind of teetering and cradling that aspect of insanity. And in this example with The Great Gabbo, this one is definitely more of a torment from the relationship that a man thinks he has with this being, essentially. Like, he created these thoughts and ideas and jokes, and through the audience they are getting a dual performance of a dummy and his master. But behind closed doors, when the curtains fall, he really feels like his life is entangled into this doll, and that's very interesting. And then we even have a masterwork such as 1978's Magic, starring the iconic, legendary, and lovely Anthony Hopkins. Charles Corky Withers fails his first attempt at professional magic. His mentor Merlin says that he needs a better gimmick. And this is where Corky comes back as a combination of magic and ventriloquism. And this one is a psychological horror. Again, dummies are such a brilliant concept to use in psychological horror, because you never know if the person you're rooting for is mad or if there's something supernatural at work. It's just like the perfect vehicle for the idea. And we've seen dummies throughout media so much, even up into the 90s with R.L. Stein's infamous, iconic Slappy character. That's right, Slappy is like the poster child of all that is Goosebumps, all that is our childhood, all that is spooky Halloween fun frenzy time, to the point where Jack Black has played him. I mean, he has so many book spin-offs. He's the central focal point in the new movies. Slappy is just an iconic character. In other words, he is the mascot for Goosebumps, a thing that, which is pretty which is maybe for people my age the #1 flagship show of nostalgia. And yeah, that idea might have stemmed more from Charles Lee Ray and Chucky, but to have that in a kid's book is mesmerizing and haunting. That's nothing to take lightly. That's very severe because, again, childhood trauma is kind of what shapes us in a weird, sardonic way. It's one of those things that molds us and makes us scared, makes us resilient and afraid of what we're afraid of today. So you gotta put credit where credit's due. And a little background behind Slappy is that long ago a man named Franz Mayer lived in England until he decided to move to America in the 1920s and became a ventriloquist star due to the realistic dummies he made. He learned a lot of magic from an evil sorcerer named Kundu, who was also his colleague. Kundu used his magic to bring his dummies to life so they wouldn't feel so lonely. And that's very thought-provoking, especially for a child's story. Again, maybe I'm rambling, you're like, dude, we're here to talk about Tales from the Crypt, but yes, all of these things that had happened in the past wouldn't have worked as well with, wouldn't have made this Tales from the Crypt episode work if they hadn't been made. So you got to give credit where it's due so we can talk about how effective this episode is. And not only is it about dummies, it has a very intricate plot twist at the end that kind of throws its hat into the dummy genre, and it's like, hey, we can do something creative too. Let me just fix an error before I get into it. Apparently this episode came out before Slappy, so I mean, Slappy's still iconic, dude. Cut me some slack. I'm not a historian. Anyhow, regarding this episode of Tales from the Crypt, the plot follows. Aspiring ventriloquist Billy Goldman tracks down his idol, Mr. Ingalls, who dropped out of show business after a mysterious incident. Now, about 20 years later, Mr. Ingalls lives in seclusion, and Billy is trying to be an up-and-coming ventriloquist act, and he goes to find him and hunts him down to kind of get his passing of the torch handed to him. But Billy finds out that Mr. Ingalls has a very dark secret behind it all. And this story, yes, has two iconic comedians playing each roles of Mr. Ingalls and Billy Goldman. Legend Don Rickles plays Mr. Ingalls. Don Rickles is heavily known from things such as Kelly's Heroes, Casino, or even the infamous Mr. Potato Head from the Toy Story franchise. It's coming to life! And then Bobcat Goldthwait. His career had blossomed many years after Rickles, where he is known for things such as the Police Academy franchise or even Scrooge. So, again, the way that Billy's character is trying to go to Mr. Ingalls for the passing of the torch, these two iconic celebrities, one from back in the day and then a budding star of the 90s, it kind of fits the formula well. Because oftentimes, they could have casted anyone to play these two comedic characters, but the fact that they got actual comedians in it is actually brilliant. So yeah, the episode starts off with a young Billy Goldman as he is witnessing greatness, folks. He is watching the ventriloquist act between Mr. Ingalls and his belovable doll, and he's just having a great time. He even gets to meet Mr. Ingalls. He's like, dude, you are pretty much a legend to me. I aspire to be just like you. And his mom's like, no, he's gonna be a doctor. He ain't gonna be anything like you. And Ingalls is like, thanks, bro. Like, I appreciate the kind gesture, and signs a little autograph for him. And Billy goes on his merry little way. And then we get the first instinct of Mr. Ingalls when he's kind of talking to this seductive lady, and he kind of has a little back and forth with the ventriloquist dummy, and he puts it down, and kind of, you can feel a dark energy, something tenseful between him and the dummy and the lady that he is talking to. But I mean, that comes with the nature of being a horror episode. You expect all chaos to ensue. And then later that night, when Billy is at home just idolizing pretty much over the little the autograph he got from his hero, he looks out the window and sees that the comedy venue that he was just at is set ablaze and the whole place burned down. And then many years later, it doesn't really quite show a recap, but we understand that a tragedy happened and Mr. Ingalls kind of gave up his life of ventriloquism acting to just become a recluse who lives in a little cabin in the woods, isolated and alone. And Billy, the brave little soldier, is like, you know what? I'm gonna be doing my first show at this open mic gig, and I'm gonna get the great, iconic Mr. Ingalls to come and hang out with me and, give me some critiques. So he hunts him down, knocks on the door. Mr. Ingalls, a little curmudgeon-y old man, he's like, bro, get out of here. And Billy pulls out his dummy and he's like, please, just let me in. And then through reluctancy, he does, and they kind of have a little conversation where Billy's like, I always just wanted to be like you, dude, my whole life. Nothing has changed. You provoked me, dude. You were electrifying, and to this day, I decided to master my craft over you. And Ingalls is very reluctant. You can feel something dark and heavy with him. You don't know what quite's going on. We see that his doll put away up in a briefcase, and he's like, I hung up my hat, kid. I'm not about this life anymore. I ain't in the streets no more. And it takes some playing, but Billy's like, please, can you at least just come and critique? And Ingalls is like, all right, maybe. And then that night at the show, Billy gives one of the most pathetic and botched performances of all time. He peeks out from the curtain and sees that Mr. Ingalls is there, so he's a little stoked. As he goes to enter the stage, he accidentally drops his doll and the head falls off, and the audience is laughing. And this audience is brutal to him. Like, they're fucking ruthless. Like, he literally goes to tell a joke, and they're like, oh, you're a fucking bitch. Like, and they're just like screaming at him, and then he's like all flustered and, you know, heart racing. And he sees Mr. Ingalls in the crowd, and he's like, dude, if I blow this, I'm gonna blow this not only for my first gig, but in front of my fucking idol. And, you know, what the fuck? Ingalls is rooting for him, but, you know, he just gets booed off the stage and causes a wreck. Then at the bar upstairs, Mr. Ingalls is sitting down trying to have a drink. A lady tries to pick him up. She's obviously a woman of the night, a prostitute, if you will. And he's like, no, I can't do that. Please, lady, leave me alone. He's cradling his hand. And why? Since his departure from ventriloquism, and since he's been he's only been on the show for about like 3 minutes now without his doll, but you can get an idea that something's wrong with his hand. Like, he just like is cradling his hand and he's holding it. It's like, dude, like, and it makes you start to wonder, like, does he think he is like possessed or something? Does he think that the doll is possessed? Does he think that like something about his hand, like he's trying to restrain himself from like ever doing that again, or did it burn in the fire? We don't know. So that's where the psychological aspect kind of kicks in. And Billy comes up, he's like, bro, I'm sorry, I blew the performance. I tried my best, but I quit. He's like, was it bad? And Rickles is like, yeah, it was pretty that bad. You should find another. It was that bad. You should find another profession. And, you know, Billy's just down on his luck and he's devastated, so he leaves. And as he's leaving, he's just kicking rocks, fuming. He's like, dude, I'm done with this pussy-ass doll. I hate you, doll. I wish you were never made, doll. And he throws it, and as he throws it, he hears screaming in the woods. And he goes running to a car, and in the car is the woman that we saw at the bar dead. And this is where Billy connects it together. He's like, she's dead, and there's gasoline on the car. Mr. Ingalls, that motherfucker, is trying to set it on fire, but dipped. He has been the madman all along. So, which, again, that part to me was kind of rushed. Like, I had to think about it for a second before I even connected the dots. I was like, wait, how the hell did Billy know that it was Ingalls right out the gates? Because, you know, it's a 30-minute episode, so some things are kind of rushed. But Billy goes back to the cabin, and he confronts Ingalls, and this is where Ingalls lays out the lore. He's like, dude, you don't want any smoke from my doll. There's something evil about it. And then Billy's like, we can get you some help, bro. Like, you don't have to do this alone. People will believe you. I know you killed some people, but you're psychologically damaged, because as he walks in, he sees fucking Ingalls trying to put morphine in his hand. He's like, dude, you need to control yourself. Like, Billy's not going to do anything, or your doll's not going to do anything. And he pulls the doll down. He's like, see, it's just a stupid doll. And then, spoiler alert, let's get to the finale, baby. Right when you think, like, oh man, he's obviously crazy and he's gonna kill Billy, or maybe the doll came to life, because oftentimes we've seen Magic, Chucky, all these horror movies, the doll comes to life, but they hit you with the insane fucking twist. Mr. Rickles pulls off his glove. It is not amputated. The doll didn't do it. He has a conjoined twin brother that is attached to his hand, this little demonic alien looking freak, and he's like, we're brothers. And then you're like, oh snap, okay, I did not see that coming whatsoever. And this is where the comedy and horror ironically pick up hand in hand, where the little hand creature, I'm only not addressing his name because I can't remember what it is, and I kept googling what the character's name was and I can't remember. I think it's Morty, so I'm just gonna say Morty. If it's not, you'll know. Morty is like, I'm just gonna call him Hand. I'm gonna just call him Hand Job. I'm just gonna call him Handy. Handy is like, dude, I'm the brains behind the operation. I'm the smart one. Imagine being attached to this guy, being the funny one, the witty one, coming up with all the great jokes and details, and all the ladies track to him. So again, this stems from jealousy and sexual nature, which a lot of times Tales from the Crypt does, but it's weird to see two brothers fighting over it, because he's like, dude, I just want ladies. That's why his hand was evil, because he just wanted bitches. And you could tell that because he set the bar on fire, he set the venue on fire back in the day, because the lady came up to Ingalls, and then at the bar he killed her because another lady came up. Because I get it, I mean, Ingalls is getting all the credit and accolades and all the love from ladies and fans, and dude is just stuffed inside of a puppet hidden away, so I get why he's pretty upset. Then carnage ensues, chaos begins. Ingalls goes a little bit mad. He's like, I'm gonna do what I should have done a long time ago, and he starts to hack off his hand, and you're like, dude, it's over. It's finally done with, but then you think it is, and then Handy comes back, and he's like, dude, you can't kill me, you dummy, and then brutally kills his brother, lashing at his throat. And then there's this fun little scene where he's running around the house getting chased by Bobcat Goldthwait, a little back and forth, a little fun, a lot of jokes. And then right as they come to a stalemate, they come to terms. All right, we'll let each other live if we work together. And then the episode ends with an opening night. They're doing a show, and Bobcat is doing great. People are laughing. He's killing it. But then all of a sudden, Handy's like, oh my God, look at that baddie in the crowd. And then he just starts to unravel, and like they start fighting back and forth. People are kind of chuckling. It's like, this is weird. This is dark humor until it's not. And then Handy keeps getting progressively perverted until Billy's like, I should have just killed you in the grinder when I had the chance, bud. And then this is where this is where the creature breaks out of the shell, revealing the fact that, surprise, it's a monster, which we already knew, but it shocked the crowd. And then the episode ends. But yeah, dude, what a fucking insane episode. All around, I found this one to be very riveting and fun. Again, oftentimes with Tales from the Crypt, you can only do so much in a 30-minute span. This one seemed a little bit rushed at points, but I feel like it got the plot twist. But I feel like it got the story across. The plot twist at the end, I just genuinely did not expect. The comedy in it, this might be one of the funniest episodes of all time, with two iconic legends bringing a lot of humor from the little creature himself. That was awesome. And then the design of the creature too, for the 90s, that practical effect, it looked awesome. It looked creepy, and it just brought a lot of magic and supernaturalism with that psychological torment to a story that I found very riveting. But yeah, have you guys seen this video? Comment down below and let me know. I'm going to be doing Tales from the Crypt videos a lot here, so comment down below your favorite episode and I'm going to do it next. What's your favorite Tales from the Crypt episode of all time? Please, I would love to know. Comment down below. But thank you guys so much for watching. This one has been a fun one for sure. Please subscribe. Give me a thumber. Hit that ding-a-ling button harassing you, telling you, hey, it's me, I'm here. And I'm going to say it one time for the one time and two time for the O's. Give me a hell yeah for horror.
It's my brother!